The recent price action in cryptocurrency markets has once again highlighted how deeply interconnected altcoins are with Bitcoin. Internet Computer now sits below the $6 psychological threshold, trading near $5.82s. That is a meaningful break in perception for many traders who had been watching ICP ride the broader altcoin momentum. This script examines why ICP moved the way it did, what technical levels matter, how Bitcoin's volatility has influenced altcoin behavior, and practical scenarios and risk management steps that investors and traders should consider next. This video is created for educational and informational purposes only. It does not promote or endorse any financial product, investment, or cryptocurrency. All information presented here is based on publicly available sources and independent analysis. Viewers are encouraged to conduct their own research before making any financial or technological decisions. Cryptocurrency markets are still largely driven by Bitcoin's thematic moves. When Bitcoin tested the $107,000 area and later retraced below the $100,000 mark, it produced ripple effects across most altcoins. Bitcoin's daily candle closed under $100,000 for the first time since June, a psychological and technical event that shifted sentiment abruptly. When BTC pulled down, correlation between Bitcoin and many altcoins increased, reinforcing downward pressure across the board. Bitcoin dominance, the metric that shows Bitcoin's share of the total crypto market capitalization, is an important signal. The dominance metric has shown sharp swings in recent days. Rapid intraday jumps and reversals indicate active reallocation by traders and possible futures market dynamics driving short-term distortions. When dominance moves counter to expectation after a Bitcoin price move, the altcoin response can be counterintuitive. In this cycle, dominance did not hold a post-pullback level, instead reverting to earlier ranges, which helped limit a deeper decline in some altcoins compared to what would have occurred if dominance had continued upward. ICP's present situation: price, market cap, volume. Internet Computer's market capitalization sits near $3.17 billion. With a 24-hour trading volume in the neighborhood of $430 million. These figures reflect meaningful liquidity and institutional-level attention relative to many smaller projects. The current price, approximately $5.82, represents a significant retracement from recent highs above $9. The move below $6 is notable for psychology and technical structure issues. Investors and traders must treat $6 as a local reference point. It was previously a consolidation zone and may act as resistance on any rebound. The retracement from near 9.78 to the current price represents roughly a 40% pullback. That degree of drawdown after a strong run is not unusual, but it does change risk-return calculations for both existing holders and potential new entrants. Understanding whether this move is a healthy consolidation, a larger trend reversal, or simply noise requires watching specific support and resistance levels, volume behavior, and broader market drivers such as Bitcoin's trend and macro liquidity. Technical structure, key levels to watch. The region around $6 had previously acted as a consolidation base. Now that price sits under that band, it is critical to observe whether the $5.80 area holds as short-term support. If buyers step in aggressively, the market can retest $6.30, $7.12 and potentially try to reclaim consolidation levels. Recent swing high and psychological resistance, $9.78, $10. The upper range from which the retracement began remains the reference for measuring the move. Returning toward $9.78 and surpassing $10 would be necessary to resume the prior momentum phase convincingly. Until proven otherwise, the retracement volume and price action should be treated as corrective. Volume is often the confirmation tool for significant moves. A rebound that lacks volume compared to the previous distribution would be suspicious. Conversely, capitulation with very high volume could signal the final flush and a potential opportunity for accumulation, depending on the buyer profile. Dominance and market mechanics. Recent dominance dynamics have produced a curious case. After Bitcoin's short-lived surge to higher levels, dominance failed to maintain the lift and instead retreated near earlier ranges. That kind of behavior often points to rapid portfolio rotations or liquidity concentrated in derivatives and large order flows. These flows can create temporary mismatches between spot and futures markets, resulting in fakeouts that cause whipsawing price action in both BTC and altcoins. When dominance falls immediately after a BTC pullback, some altcoins will receive a reprieve and retrace less severely. That appears to have been the case recently with several altcoins, including Internet Computer. However, this reprieve can be temporary. If Bitcoin's weakness persists and dominance ultimately reasserts upward pressure, altcoins will likely follow with more pronounced retracements. Monitoring derivatives funding rates, open interest, and liquidation clusters can provide additional insights into whether the current pullback is distribution or consolidation. Behavioral and profit-taking dynamics. Markets that run hard for an extended period attract profit-taking. Many traders who entered prior to the recent run will have realized gains near the highs. When a significant number of market participants choose to lock in profits, selling pressure increases, and it takes only modest negative news or a macro risk-off event to accelerate the retracement. In this context, the recent pullback in ICP can be seen as partially the result of logical profit-taking and the broader market's reaction to Bitcoin's decline. That does not mean the move cannot extend. Profit-taking becomes a cascade if sentiment changes from temporary correction to trend reversal. The difference between these states depends on whether support levels hold and whether buyers demonstrate conviction through larger incoming orders and higher bid-side volume. Scenarios: how the next move could unfold. Multiple plausible scenarios should be considered. Each scenario outlines likely price paths and the triggers to watch. Base consolidation and reaccumulation. Trigger: ICP holds above $4.45 and recaptures the $6.30 region within a few daily sessions, with increasing volume on up moves. Implication: this would indicate that the sell-off was corrective and the market is digesting gains before the next leg higher. Reaccumulation could attract fresh buyers at perceived discount levels. Trigger: price oscillates between $4.45 and $8.50 for an extended period, with no decisive breakout. Volume remains muted. Implication: traders should reduce directional conviction. Range strategies, such as buying intraday support and selling near resistance, could be more appropriate than trend chasing. Deeper retracement toward lower structural support. Trigger: Bitcoin weakness intensifies and dominance reasserts upward pressure. ICP breaks below $4.45 with high volume distribution. Implication: this would reflect structural weakness and could lead to a multi-week or multi-month drawdown. Long-term holders may use staged average down strategies, but new buyers should be cautious until signs of base formation appear. Quick recovery and breakout trigger. A surprise macro or crypto-specific catalyst sends markets higher. ICP reclaims 9.78 and sustains above $10 with solid volume. Implication: momentum strategies could favor adding into strength, but risk management must handle volatility spikes and potential false breakouts. Risk management and practical guidance. Every market participant should adapt strategy to capital, risk tolerance, and time horizon. The following are practical guidelines rather than personal advice. Position sizing. Maintain disciplined position sizes. After a 40% correction, risk per trade should be conservative. Consider sizing positions so that a move to the next major support would only cause an acceptable percentage drawdown to the portfolio. Instead of committing the entire allocation at one price, use staged entries to reduce timing risk. This is particularly relevant if uncertainty around Bitcoin's next major move remains high. Establish profit targets and partial exit rules. When markets recover back to prior highs or significant resistance levels, consider reducing exposure incrementally. Use of alternatives to perpetual leverage. Avoid excessive leverage in a market that frequently shows fakeouts. If leverage is used, it should be conservative and matched with strict risk controls. Funding rates, open interest, and liquidation clusters can indicate when leveraged positions are being squeezed and when derivatives-driven volatility may spike. Short-term traders will react differently from long-term holders. Define whether the goal is a multi-week swing, a short scalp, or a multi-year investment. Let the time horizon guide trade structure and risk controls. Technical signals that matter in the short term. Daily close behavior. Daily closes under psychological thresholds, such as $6.5, carry more weight than intraday wicks. Watch how daily candles close relative to moving averages and prior consolidation zones. Relative strength and divergence. Look for bullish divergence on momentum indicators when price approaches major support. Divergence can suggest weakening selling pressure and an opportunity for a bounce. A rebound without volume confirmation is less trustworthy. Volume expansion on up days suggests genuine buying, whereas volume compression on rebounds points to short covering rather than fresh demand. Large unfilled order areas can act as magnets and accelerate moves when reached. Mapping visible liquidity clusters can help anticipate where quick moves might occur. Narratives drive capital flows in crypto. Internet Computer's fundamental narrative centers on on-chain computation, performance, and an ecosystem that targets decentralized applications at scale. If project-specific news or ecosystem developments return to the headlines, ICP could benefit disproportionately compared to other altcoins that lack narrative momentum. Conversely, macro liquidity conditions, regulatory headlines, or risk-off rotations in traditional markets can blunt even the strongest narratives. Therefore, project-specific optimism must coexist with macro stability to sustain a renewed uptrend. What to watch next? A checklist. Bitcoin price action. Whether it reclaims $100,000 and holds, or moves further lower toward critical supports. Bitcoin dominance. Whether dominance resumes upward pressure or continues to retreat. ICP daily closes relative to $6.30 and $4.45. Volume on rebounds and distributions. Derivatives metrics, funding rates, and open interest behavior. Project-specific catalysts, protocol upgrades, major partnerships, or ecosystem milestones that could attract fresh capital. Scenario-based trade examples, illustrative only, conservative swing entry. Entry plan. Scale into position between $5 and $4.50 in 3 equal tranches. For those with a multi-year horizon, drawdowns are part of the typical price discovery process for digital assets. Internet Computer has a standing technical narrative and ecosystem activity that may justify patience through volatility. Long-term holders should measure allocation relative to total portfolio risk and consider dollar-cost averaging to smooth entry. That said, significant drawdowns remain possible in any market cycle, so maintaining a diversified allocation and an understanding of capital at risk is essential. Internet Computer's descent below $6 is a reminder of the fragile balance between momentum and profit-taking. The broader market's reaction to Bitcoin's volatility has been the principal driver of recent price movement. Key technical levels, especially $4.45 as structural support and $9.78 as the recent swing high, will help determine the next major directional phase. Risk management remains the most reliable tool in these conditions. Clear position sizing, staged entries, disciplined stop placements, and a plan for profit-taking can help navigate uncertainty. Watching volume, dominance, and derivatives metrics provides context beyond price alone. Finally, rewards in this market are available to those who prepare for multiple scenarios rather than betting on a single outcome. Feedback is encouraged. Share which scenario feels most likely and what time frame is of interest. Specific charting or a live annotated technical breakdown can follow depending on the preferred focus, short-term trading, swing setups, or long-term accumulation. Alright, if you learned something new or enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss future updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.